Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Craig. This is where we talk about firearms, the Second Amendment, advocacy, education, politics, movies, you name it. We're talking all things Second Amendment. So we thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. Please remember to like and share our feeds both on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Help us to be able to get the word out. You guys have done a fantastic job. We've seen our numbers grow exponentially. And it's all been because you guys are active, talking to people, telling people about coffee, and also telling people about the Firearms Policy Coalition. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate all the tremendous effort that you guys are putting in, and we just pray that you guys will keep up the good work. So with that, let's get started. So yesterday afternoon, we did a live feed, kind of breaking news, and we introduced a new product and a new project that we, the Firearms Policy Coalition, are doing in coordination with the Firearms Policy Foundation, a nonprofit organization that advocates both that doesn't advocate legislatively. It's a 501c3, but it does promote education as well as litigation, supporting our Second Amendment rights, or all of our civil rights, but especially rights whether directly or indirectly tied to the Second Amendment. So great organization that we are very, very proud to be a part of. So, you guys have been following all of this stuff that's been going, once again, in the media, where you have groups like CNN, you have MSNBC, you have the Brady campaign, you have Michael Bloomberg, are all utilizing young people and taking advantage of young people. And the shooting that took place in Parkland, Florida, to use young people to advocate against our right to keep and bear arms. They really are playing off of the emotions and the emotions and everything that goes on when an event like that happens, and they're utilizing that to foment young people to do these rallies and protests and walk out of school and in essence. They're promoting a certain type of speech. And the speech that they're promoting is about banning guns. And the reason why they're doing that is because they've come to realize that they have not been very successful when it comes to adults. The interesting thing is when you look at what these young people are saying, they are literally utilizing the talking points that are handed to them by the liberal media, by the gun-grabbing organizations like Bloomberg and every town for gun safety. We've done coffees on this. We've talked about how when CNN put on that big forum that they did, that the town hall that they talked about was totally kid-driven. Yeah, no, it wasn't, because the talking points were specifically written by CNN producers. The rally that took place, the March for Our Lives that took place, that was funded by Michael Bloomberg in every town. All of those marches were funded by them, and obviously MSNBC and CNN. You saw we showed you they carried them, and they once again promoted all of the talking points and all of that. It was all driven by those who are trying to ban the Second Amendment. Well, in that process, there's been more than a few young people who've wanted to speak out in favor of the Second Amendment. And unfortunately, young people or students who are desiring to speak out in favor of the Second Amendment are not being given the same level of consideration, meaning that school districts oftentimes are, while school districts that allowed students to walk out of class with no repercussions, no penalties during the March for Our Lives, are doing the exact opposite and not allowing students to have the same sort of deference or the same sort of freedom to be able to walk out of class during a pro-Second Amendment rally. Now, we've seen one incident that took place, or at least one instance that took place in Colorado, but interestingly enough, in that particular case, you had students who put on this rally and they reached out and they did everything to try and market within their community the same way the anti-gun students did. But when they sought to reach out and they sought to utilize community Facebook pages and message boards, well, not only was their post deleted, but they were banned from being able to comment or provide any information or post on that particular community page. Now, so with that, I'm a school board member. You guys have heard me talk about that. I sit on a school board here in the city of Sacramento. It's a small school district, the one that I sit on. But one of the things that I also recognize is that school or education, learning environment is supposed to be a place where we encourage discussion of all sides of issues. I've said time and time again that if you only have one side and not all sides, or at least both sides of a discussion, that's not education, that's indoctrination. And so I firmly believe that school districts, schools, teachers, administrators should not be in the business of picking winners and losers when it comes to free speech. Well, guess what? The Firearms Policy Coalition and the Firearms Policy Foundation happen to agree. So, with that, these organizations have launched an effort. The effort is called K12speech.com. That's called K12speech.com. And the whole goal behind this is kind of multi-phase. Number one, wanted to put out some information out there so that parents knew and students knew exactly what their rights are when it comes to free speech. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people think, well, you're only allowed to say whatever the school lets you say. And that may be the school line, but in essence, when it comes to free speech at school, there's only certain requirements. All right, there's only certain restrictions. Among those restrictions are it cannot substantially and materially interfere with class, right? So for example, when the students walked out, if the school okays it, then it doesn't interfere with class. But the school district can't pick and choose. Say, okay, well, this one we agree with, but that one we don't agree with. Right? So that's one thing. The other thing is that you can't threaten immediate harm to the welfare of the school or the community. That's kind of an obvious one. You cannot encourage unlawful activity. Once again, that's really kind of an obvious one. You cannot invade the rights of others. Now, I always find this one to be interesting because if you're going to force a student to participate, how is that not violating the rights of others? Because there's a freedom of association, and I can decide whether or not I want to be a part of it. But that goes to the next part. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Use profanity, swear words, or vulgar language. Now, thou shalt not infringe to some people is considered vulgar language if you're in particular because you're referring to the Second Amendment. We all know that a lot of these school districts have real issues when you do start standing up and speaking your mind when it comes to something that they disagree with. So one of the things that we've done is once again, once you know your rights, and keep in mind, those are general rights under the First Amendment. You may need to take a look at what the rights are in your state to see if there's additional restrictions or in many cases, additional rights that are afforded to you. So number one, make sure you know your rights. The next thing is that once you know your rights, take a look at the situation. Take a look at what you know is going on. And if you believe that your student, your child's rights are being violated, well, guess what we also do? We provide a hotline, a way in which for you to reach us in order for us to be able to help you make sure your rights aren't being violated. It's really easy. It's hotline@firearmspolicy.org. That's the email. We also have a phone number, 855-252-4510. Now, once you've gone and you've taken a look at these rules, and once you've taken a look at what the rules are and whatnot, and once you know that, even if it's already happened, even if you know their rights have already been violated, hit us up. Let us know. Let us know about the particular situation. And there's going to be a number of different things that you're going to want to know. All right, now this is information that you're going to want to make sure that you collect, because this information is going to make all the difference in the world when it comes to determining, when it comes to being able to determining whether or not we have a case. Once again, names of all the people who are present, or at least as many as you can put together, dates and times of the events. We need that so we can see if there's any particular. That way we know what records to look for, things along those lines. What news reports, if there's anything like that. Any specific issues or problems. Anything that stands out in regards to it. Anything that stands out in regards to that particular incident, or anything that in your mind in particular stands out, or that someone else may bring to your attention. Who said what to whom? Now, this is an important one, because a lot of times we may recall things differently, or we may not necessarily know who something was said to. So it's important to know who said what to who. Whom. Let me make sure I get my diction right. Anyway, examples of speech expression that were permitted. So if you have photos, if you have any video, if you have any recollection of things that can be corroborated, things along those lines, make sure you get that information together. Examples of speech and expression that were exempted or that were not permitted, right? All of that information is helpful. So if you got video, if you got pictures, if you have eyewitness testimony of things, preferably multiple people, that information is always going to be helpful. Any action taken by teachers, school officials, or other students. Knowing what those actions are is important. Knowing who took those actions. In particular, if it was those specifically affiliated with the school. Teachers, school officials, meaning school board members or administrators, or other students. Any disciplinary actions that were taken or not taken against students. So this is vital, because you want to make sure that if it was something, you want to make sure that students are treated the same. Whether you are anti-gun or pro-gun, you want to make sure that both groups of students who do the same exact thing receive the same exact treatment. The only way we know that is if we know what happened with the anti-gun students and what happened with the pro-gun students. Any law enforcement contacts or actions, that's important, because obviously that's information we're going to want to get from law enforcement. Any information that we get from them is going to have some level of credibility that's going to help us. Okay, it's going to help you in securing your rights. Names or descriptions of other people who might have witnessed events. And that's relevant to all of that stuff, right? We might want to get that information from all of those individuals. So that's something that's vitally important. Make sure that as you go forward, once again, all of this, by the way, is in the guide. All right. There's a guide right there that you can download. Once again, at k12speech.com, there's a guide right there that you can download. Everything I'm telling you right now, you don't need to write notes, because it's already there. It's already there in the guide. But you guys have to take advantage of it. You guys have to go there, and you have to download it. Now, once again, it also gives you, then after it tells you that information, it also gives you information about where to seek further help or seek further legal advice. Then as you start to progress and put together either a free speech plan, a plan to hold an event, or a plan to, or if you know an event that is coming that you do not wish your child to be a part of. It talks about how you can get access to that as well. So you guys want to make sure that you guys pay attention, look at that information. Once again, all of that is right there in the guide. Now, Finally, there's one other thing that I want to make sure to talk to you guys about, and that is contributing to the effort. Like I said yesterday, I am pretty darn sure that there have already been incidents where students have already had their rights violated. I'm pretty darn sure of it. And I'm pretty sure that there are incidents going forward where students will have their rights violated. But we won't know that until we get the information from you. And then once we do, that then is going to open the door to potential legal action, right? That's why it's called a legal hotline, because it's going to require eventually, we're believing, legal action. Now, the other side may take a look at this guide and say, okay, well, now we know what we can do and what we can't do. And we're already seeing in many cases, school districts and organizations are saying, yeah, we may have messed up when we allowed that, but we're not going to allow it now. So we're going to kind of pull back. Now that the anti-gun kids have had their opportunity, now they're going to pull back, right? But we want to make sure, once again, that both sides are given equal opportunity. And there are some groups that didn't do anything that are saying, and we're not going to allow anything. But we already know that some people have already had their rights violated. But in order for us to take action, in order for us to be able to help those students, we need to know. And not only, and by the way, just in case you guys are wondering, legal action takes resources. And so we need you to help us out. So at that very same website, you can go, once again, that very same website, k12speech.com, is where you can also donate in order to help us, help these students. I already know what you're thinking. Here they are, they're asking for money again. But folks, you guys already know this stuff, it doesn't happen for free. All right. It really doesn't. It takes time. It takes energy. It takes effort for a legal team to be able to put together this information, research it, and then file legal action and then go to court in order to help protect these students. And we can't do it without you. This is an effort that only happens if the entire Firearms Policy Coalition team, and that includes you, is a part of the effort. So I would encourage you, please go to k12speech.com. Read all of the information there. Download the guide. If you like what you see, if you believe that this is a worthwhile effort, then I would definitely encourage you to get active and support the effort and contribute a few bucks in order to help make it happen. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. I thank you so much for tuning in. I very much appreciate you liking and sharing this video feed and telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. We've got to use them or we're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.